clean waters. Any wild-caught fish is going to be coming. Off usually the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean. Right now, the Atlantic fisheries have all but collapsed. There are no wild Atlantic salmon. You're not going to get any wild Atlantic cod. They were poorly managed in the 1900s and 1800s. The entire fishery collapsed. They tried to declare it a state of economic emergency in 2004, but House Republicans blocked funding for that. So right now there are no fishermen in the Atlantic catching fish because they ate them all. Those stocks are recovering. It is now illegal to fish from the Atlantic. You can get some fish out of the Pacific, which is where we get a lot of our stuff. Generally speaking, if you want wild-caught fish, your best option is going to be Alaskan fish. That's really clean water. There's not a whole lot of industrial activity going on right there. Like, for the same reason you wouldn't want to eat fish right off the pier here in San Francisco with all these boats coming in and out, those polluted waters. Alaskan water is still really clean, still really pristine. The fish are very plentiful. Those are going to be coming out really clean tasting fish, really good for you. So far as farm-raised fish is concerned, this is probably the #1 thing you're going to have to be looking out for in the future because wild fish is declining, unfortunately speaking. If you're going for farm-raised fish, some of the things to worry about, a lot of farm-raised fish, they're given growth hormones to increase their size artificially before they're naturally ready. They're grown in really, really tight conditions, like really low stocking density is what you call it. So they're all like brushing up against each other. There's not enough water moving through, pushing out that dirty water, keeping it clean. When you think of, like, say, salmon, like the idea of a salmon is swimming upstream, jumping over the waterfall, etc. Farm-raised fish, they're raised in these little pens, so they're not like swimming around if they're packed in really tight. They're not getting that exercise that they're supposed to. Another thing that happens with farm-raised fish is they're fed a controlled diet, usually of some kind of like animal byproduct or corn or something like that, so they don't get the right color. A lot of farm-raised salmon that you're going to get, if you cut open a farm-raised salmon, I wish I had a picture right now, but like say like a salmon that's been raised on an irresponsible farm, you feed it just that feed and like no additives to change its color, it's going to come out looking great. I'm sure everyone knows salmon's usually supposed to be red or pink, but if without those color additives, it's not getting those natural sources of orange. So there's all kinds of like nasty things you have to do to make it look right. A lot of supermarkets, what they'll do, or fish suppliers, they'll dye the meat itself. The difference between what we sell at Whole Foods is that you can change the color of the meat by just adding adding something into the feed. We add a natural yeast-based supplement called xylanthan. It's sold in the nutritional department. It gives it like a nice orange color. It's the same thing that makes orange. It's the same thing that makes carrots orange, makes orange peel orange, makes shrimp turn a little bit red and orange. That's the same thing that makes salmon turn red. So once again, the things you need to look out for in terms of farm-raised seafood are stay away from any farms that have low stocking densities. That means that once again they're all packed in together. They're swimming up real tight together. They're passing disease across each other. They're being fed a bunch of antibiotics, growth hormones. They have artificial coloring. You don't want to be eating that kind of like artificial food dye. I'm not saying like the only place you can get responsibly raised seafood is Whole Foods, but it's the only place that I know of that I would buy farm-raised seafood. Okay. Does anybody have any idea what kind of fish this is? That is a char. I said it earlier. I'm just paying attention. Alright, so this is an Arctic char. It is actually a relative of the salmon in the same family with salmon and trout. You can tell it kind of actually looks a little bit like a salmon. This is a farm-raised Atlantic salmon, face and everything. Pop them open. Still got his... That's actually a pretty small one. We get. That's with salmon? Yeah.
When you buy it, why is it like tiny?
Alright, so that's what we're going to be working on. We're going to be filleting it out right here. I'm going to show you how to take the scales off. We're going to fillet it out, and then it'll look like that nice little conveniently packaged meat-shaped thing that you buy at the supermarket and don't know where it comes from. So once again, same family, Arctic char, salmon. You can see they look pretty similar. They're definitely relatives. They're going to taste a little bit similar. All right, so I'm going to cut up one of these salmon, and then we're going to bring you all up here to cut up some of the Arctic char and the other salmon.